Hey, what's up humans? Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm gonna be carving for you guys this beautiful piece of semi-crystal Ethiopian opal, and it's a large one. You can see that there's sort of a bump on one side, and then the other side is pretty good. Use just another kind of lighting for it. So when we shine a flashlight through this, it's super clean. I mean, look at that, guys. Just barely any sand in there. It's all just super surface level, so this should be a pretty easy cut. And the size is 23 by 15 by 13 millimeters. So it's a big old one. The size of it is 21.84 or 83 carats, so almost 22 carats. If you guys want to see how this ends up being shaped and polished, stay tuned. So here I'm just taking a look at it, and I'm gonna wet both sides to decide which side I think is gonna be better as the face, since it is so clean and it could be faced any which way. And it looks like the side with the bump on it is the side that's gonna have a lot of color. So carving into this, I'm starting by working on the edges of the stone, and then I'm gonna do the back and then the face. So since this is so clean, it's really at this point about kind of grinding down the bumpier parts of the sides and making the crest of the cab even on both sides. So on one half of the stone, we have like a more acute angle of the rounded portion of it, and then on the other side it's flatter, but it has a more wide angle of how the round part goes. So I focused more on the part that was the thinner crest first, because I wanted to make the stone as thick as possible. Now I am being sure to work my way around the stone as I'm going, because on both of the long sides of the stone there's a lot of little divots and crannies and bumps, so we're trying to get the dirt off of that part as well. But I really am going to focus on the circumference of the stone before I start working on the back and the face, so that I know more like what I'm working with and how I'm gonna be able to give a dome to it. This stone should definitely give me a pretty good dome, but since the side that has the more color is the side that has the large bump on it, it is gonna end up being a bit more of a flat face. Especially since there's more dirt on the side that is gonna be the face. So like it's 90% clean, and you don't see stones like this very often. I truly feel like blessed and gifted to get this stone in a parcel, and this was one of my very first stones that I got that was so clean. I was buying around at lots of different opal shops, and I bought a cutter's parcel, and this stone happened to be in it, and I've been sitting on it for probably about 2 years now, because I've been nervous about cutting it because it's so big and so beautiful. I really wanted to do it justice, do it right, and I thought now's the time, better than ever, to shape this beauty and really see what pattern it's gonna be. Some stones you can really see what pattern it's going to be pretty obviously from the sides, especially if it's like something like pinfire, you'll see the speckles. If it's something like honeycomb, it has little fingers. And this one kind of has fingers, but they don't look like they would be honeycomb because it doesn't have the webbing in between. So I'm really interested to see what this pattern is gonna be. But this here is just me kind of starting to shape the dome on the stone. I kind of got it into like a puck shape, and then I'm working on the sharper edges to smooth them down a bit and get them more even, because this stone was kind of wishy-washy on the face just a bit. But luckily I was able to see and tell throughout the shaping that I did indeed face it on the correct side. So moving on to my Nova points here, I usually end up doing like 60% of the doming on my black and brown Nova points, only because like if your wrist slips a little bit on the 800 grit diamond bit, then you risk like catching it and then it carves into the stone and it causes a divot, and then you have to go around and make all the other sides match that divot, and takes some carriage off of the stone. Also, when you're working on the black and the brown Nova points, you get a bit more control and consistency, as well as it looks a bit smoother. It's a lot less likely to look chunky. But as you're moving on through the Nova points, it's grinding less and less stone away, so you can concentrate on spots more and more as you're moving through. I will say though that the gray Nova point and the pink Nova point are really just more about smoothing edges and getting a sort of polish on it, especially with the pink Nova point. It pretty much gets it to a semi-polish all the way through, and I end up getting a lot more of the scratches from the previous Nova points off in the silver Nova point because of this. Say you have some scratches left and you're going to the pink Nova point, it's going to take you a long time to get those scratches out, and you might get frustrated and have to go back all the way down to the black or the brown Nova point to get those scratches out. So you do want to, every step of the way through the Nova points and through the polishing for that matter, wipe off your stone, make sure it's dry of the water or the polishing paste, and just make sure that you're getting the scratches off all that you can on that point. It's really important to make sure you have all those scratches out, because later in, when you're working on your polishing pastes, they're not really going to get those scratches out, and they're just going to cause little imperfections and divots in the stone, more likely. So this is what the stone ended up looking like after I finished with all the Nova points, when it's still pretty full of water. As you can see, there's still a section of color visible in the middle that has not totally absorbed the water, and then the edges are super crystal clear. And so I let this sit, and then this is what it looked like the very next day. It was pretty milky white, and you can't see like a whole lot of the color, but you can see that the center part is the more clear part now, because the water has kind of migrated into that, and it's trying to evaporate it out through the skin of the opal. A few days later, this is what it looks like when it's totally dried out. There's no like discoloration, egging kind of thing going on the back, and it's good to go for a polish. So I let my stone dry out after the pink Nova Point before the polish, only because of I don't want to run the risk of the like colorant in the polishing paste staining my stone, and also the heat from the polishing paste can cause the water to leave the stone more rapidly, which it gives you a higher risk of it cracking. Now, if you're doing this with Nova points, because you can just forfeit the polishing paste and go get the finer Nova points and use those instead, you're all good. You don't need to let it dry out. You could just keep going through because it's gonna be wet anyways. You use the water. Yeah, and you're probably gonna be safer doing that because you're getting your stone to a full polish before you let it dry, and the more polished the surface of the stone is, the slower the water will release from it, and the less risk you have of it cracking. So if you want to just keep it super safe, you can, go get the finer Nova points and then also let it dry out in a baggie. I'm a freak and I let mine dry out in the air. I put it in my little opal drawer and then I just leave it there, not in a baggie. So that's pretty risky. I don't know if I would suggest it, but I've had great luck with it. I cut a good few handfuls of stones and haven't had a whole lot of bad luck with this, though I have had just like a couple of stones that did end up cracking, being left out, not in a baggie, just because it was warm, or the stone is just not the kind of stone that is high enough quality to be leaving out like that, and you never really know when a stone is going to be successful and when it's not. So this is what it looks like when it's all finished being polished. This is it in a little bit of a different light than the lamp that I had in my room. I really think this lamp brings out the color in it like nuts. But the final weight of this stone is 9.51 or just 9.5 carats. So it's huge. It's a whopper. Let's measure the sides of this. So it is now 12 by 20, and 12 by 20 millimeters. It's a pretty large one. Here's the stone before I shaped it. Just super nice. It got that great window opening so we can see the ripples. Super lovely rough piece. It was beautiful on its own, let's be real. And yeah, gorgeous stone. And then of course I have to show it to you guys in the other lighting again, because this lighting is so much better. This is the lighting in my living room coming from my overhead light versus the like round beauty light. And yeah, this is how it ended up when it was finished being shaped. We ended up losing about 12.5 carats. And I don't know if you guys can see this, but in the puzzle pattern, it's got like these little, like, kind of like medical sign, like X's in it, or they're like kind of like clover shaped, and it's really awesome. It's got like the red, gold, and green going on. There's some turquoise in there sometimes, and just every once in a while you catch a little hint of blue. And I just could not be happier with this stone. It is so beautiful. It's very easily one of my favorite stones, top 5 that I have ever cut. And it's definitely the second largest stone that I have ever cut. This here is it in the sunlight, and it doesn't look quite as good as it did in the under the lamp, but oh my gosh. And yeah. And this is every time I dropped it. So I didn't paint anything this week, but I do have this soap that I wanted to show you guys. This is the one that I've been using, but I do have 2 of these available. If you want one, go ahead and hit me up in my Instagram direct messages, or if you want one of my opals, same. I do service through PayPal, free shipping if you live in America, and yeah, just hit me up on there. This is iced pineapple scented. As you guys can see, there's like a moon and some mountains, and then there's other mountains in the foreground, and then there's like a wave crashing towards you, and then there's supposed to be little pineapples on the lower part of it, growing out of some grass, and I'm really proud of this one. The scent is amazing, and it's a goat milk and glycerin based melted pour. Go ahead and give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video in any way. Go check out my Instagram. I don't post very often, but you know, it'd be cool if you follow me on there. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed and you feel like it. Share this video if you have a community of people who you think might possibly care about this video. And I'll see you guys next time that I generally feel like posting something later.